We are streaming.
Yeah, I think we're
cool.
Okay, we ready to jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Too, so.
Yeah, do it.
You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
Welcome to Thunderheads, take 2. If you're tuning into YouTube Live, we are psyched to have you. And if you were with us on YouTube Live prior to this, we were having the classic technical difficulties, or as we call them around here, TDs, because it's less syllables and
touchdowns.
It's ironic because it refers to there we go.
Yeah,
that way we keep it in the same sport. I think we got it fixed. So hopefully, if you're watching us on YouTube, we sound good. We're back. We're gonna do these over-unders. We're gonna skip all that mumbo jumbo, as the old people say, that we did at the beginning of the last start. We're just gonna head right into the meat of this podcast. What do you guys say? You like it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I wasn't asking you. I was asking the crowd.
Oh, they said let's do it. I heard
Okay, there we go. That's the definitive.
A resounding yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna do these over-unders. We're gonna start with players, then we're gonna go to team, like wins. Talk about the good stuff there, but let's start with the individuals and get an idea, get a feel for what we're going to see out there on the court. We're going to do this alphabetically. We're going to start with Alec Abrines. Kind of struggled last year. He was a guy that Billy Donovan toyed with a lot. 4.7 points he averaged last season, 6 points per game in his rookie season. I'm going to set the number of 5.5 points a game. And Jacob, I know you're going to say over because you did already, but I want you to tell me why.
Okay, yeah, so I just think that if he's going to be here, they're going to use him. I mean, and that sounds like, well, no shit, dude. But what I'm saying is, like, with one of the things I brought up before was just that we're not placating Melo anymore. Like, there's not like but, like, Melo's got to have 18 shots, or Melo's going to maybe get mad if – and so I think, like – I think that if Abrines is there and gets more run, Rob and I talked about this. I think that I mean, if he's here and by the deadline things are going well, I think that it will be a big part of the offense, especially off the bench. And I think you might see him in some closing lineups, especially if his shot is falling.
So, Rob, before you add to that, and you can kind of compound these, 15.5 minutes a game I'm going to set for Abrines. He played 15.1 last year and dead on 15.5 his rookie season, which – I feel like the number we're searching for is somewhere in between what he did in his rookie year and what he did last year. It feels like he's going to have a bigger role on this year's team than he did last year, right? I mean, he should be a year better, ideally. He started catching his groove towards the end of last season. Melo, like you said, Melo was kind of the shooter over Abrines last year, even though maybe he didn't have a right to be the shooter, but he was. He was the guy that would stretch the floor. Maybe Abrines' role, stretching the floor, comes into play a lot more. So let's set the number, 15.5 minutes a game, because you bring in all these young wings, Abdul Nader, Hamidou Diallo that they signed, and then obviously Terrance Ferguson, Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot, 15.5 minutes a game. What you got, Rob, over under?
So I'm going to go over, and that's being optimistic, I think, because like there's still the whole weirdness of Billy Donovan with Alec Abrines, and hopefully that is worked its way out. Like we felt, or at least for the most part, on this pod, we had felt like there was something about Melo that Billy Donovan just wanted to see how it played out. Like he just wanted it to work so
also,
bad.
He was a little scared of Melo, wouldn't you say?
Maybe so. I mean, that is maybe so. And maybe he looked up to him because of the whole college thing, Syracuse, and
could be.
So I mean, there could have been something, but it definitely seemed like Abrines was being toyed with a bit in the fact that he just couldn't get regular minutes. And hopefully, if he can figure that out, and I don't think by going over, I'm not saying he's gonna. I don't even think he's gonna get 20 minutes a game.
Right. So what's your number? Like 16, 17?
Yeah, just a little over. Like 7. I think 17 would be fair. 18 would be fair.
Agreed.
But if you're going to use him, like he needs to be out there for that many minutes, but he needs to get shots.
Yes.
We say it all the time.
Yep.
Like if he's going to be out there and he's not great on defense, you have to get him shots.
How much of that is on him, and how much of that is on Billy Donovan? How much of it is on Russell Westbrook?
How much of it was on Carmelo last year, not being able to really kind of rely on him to be able to do that, even though he wasn't out there as much as we thought.
But Abrines isn't necessarily great at getting himself in the open spots of the floor.
He's not. Yeah, no.
And so
not at all.
If he can't do that once again, he might find himself in the same position he's been in the last 12 months.
I just think there's such an emphasis on gravity. and how much spacing and stuff. But
He definitely demands that.
Well, I think so, but I just think with this new bench lineup, with Grant developing a shot, with now Noel, which may have an offensive game, which Patterson, because of the weirdness last season, just didn't have one. I just think we don't have a ton of sharpshooters off the bench, but I think with Schroder, teams knew very clearly what Melo was going to do when they played him with the bench unit, and they would just stand around, and that was fine because Melo was proud of his team.
To be fair, Melo with the bench unit was it didn't happen very much.
No, but I'm saying it. Apparently, statistically, if I recall, Melo's bench units were better, surprisingly, than were PG's bench units.
Well, that's because PG's bench units were dog shit all year.
That's true.
They were bad.
Well, yeah, that's true. My point is just that I think that Abrines with Schroder being the attacking guard that he is, I think you have a potential to get him open more.
That's true. That's a good point.
Than maybe
there's a big difference in playing Abrines with Dennis Schroder than there is playing him alongside Raymond Felton.
Agreed.
Yeah. So we're going to be putting these. Did you say this over the top on this one?
No,
that
I
we're
didn't.
going to be using Twitter to kind of interact with you guys. We'll be putting these over under, some of them up on Twitter as polls. So be sure to go out there and do those.
Yeah, and I think we got that one.
We did get that one. So 15.5 minutes for Abrines. It's kind of split. 47% say over, 53% say under.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a good number. That means that I said a great number, guys. I just want to give it up to
Or
myself.
people are just not sure what to think about Alex Abrines.
That's true.
You're a
Even
real
Billy
good
Donovan
judge.
doesn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Steven Adams. But Alex Abrines, there's only so much you can talk about because he's such a one-dimensional player.
True.
And there's a lot of unknowns going there. Let's move to Steven Adams, a guy that really turned up his scoring last year, guys. 13.9 points a game, and that's with Carmelo Anthony taking 15, 16 shots a game last season.
Yeah.
I'm going to set the number lower than what he averaged last year because I do want to respect you mentioned gravity a minute ago, the gravity that Carmelo provided and the respect that he demanded defenses give him and the space that allowed Adams to have inside. And I think that was key to Adams having a big scoring year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to set the Adams points per game at 13.5. Over. Don't
over.
agree.
I say over.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I
agree.
guess you could agree with that one. Be like dead on the money, 13.5.
No, I think it's going to be over. I think that the pecking order is not as convoluted now. I think that how many times was it why do they just stop feeding Adams in the fourth?
Yeah.
And it was either he was tired or it was literally Melo's there. And Melo's now feeling weird because he's not been a part of the comeback, and so he's going to come in and take 8 more shots. And I just think with Adams there, you continue to feed him until it doesn't work. And there were few and far between instances last season where they stopped feeding Adams because literally he just couldn't do it anymore. It was unless he was tired.
To me, he does tend to wear down in the seasons. I think last year against the Jazz, man, he was not effective.
No, that's true.
He was not the Adams that we
Absolutely.
know. And who knows how much of that was, Gobert and the Jazz's game plan was just that good, or was Adams really worn down? And now to be fair to Carmelo, the Thunder have gone away from Adams in second halves for years now, right?
Right, and that's what I think that's my point, is that I don't know. Last season was the first time where I remember starting to see writers kind of muse about it, is the big three actually Adams and Westbrook and George?
Absolutely.
And we all thought that, but
we knew that by game 4.
Before that, before last season started, I'm not thinking we've got a big 4. Adams wasn't in my kind of before. It was Oladipo and Adams and Westbrook, and that's not a great big 3. Obviously now today's version, but so I don't know. I just think he sees growth. And I think you see him start to really be more assertive underneath the basket. And I think with more energy that Noel will provide, I think you see those points go up, but maybe by a couple points. I think you could see him score. What did you have it at? 14?
13.5.
So I think you could see it 15 or 16.
If he averages 15 or 16, that's
if
impressive.
he averages 16, that is, that's going to be ridiculously huge for the Thunder to be able to, because what does that mean for the Thunder at that point, right? Because you take pressure off of Russ and off of Paul George, and you can actually get more out of Steven Adams. I kind of think where he's at right now is kind of the plateau of what we can expect on this team with these other guys around.
To me, the only way that his points per game can really rise is if they start going to him in the post more, and if he starts being more aggressive in those situations, right?
Yeah, well, especially with his hook shot, like you kind of want to. I feel like there were a lot of times where he was really indecisive, where he didn't know what to do with the ball, even when he did get it.
It was almost like he didn't want to. He wanted to leave it up to the stars. To make
it's
plays.
like, wait, this isn't my role, guys. Like, I'm not the scorer here. That's you guys. I just set picks and get rebounds.
Yeah.
Selfless to a fault, I think Adams is,
Right.
which you'll take that on your team all day, every single day when it's a guy that does the things that he does on the court.
But it's really hard not to expect growth. This is a guy that's coming. He's not even into the prime of his career yet, so it's hard not to expect a guy that you've seen this progression every year, just to expect it to be there.
That's insane to think about. 25, man. The guy looks like he's 60.
That is crazy.
69
and
years old.
And he's mature too. He doesn't do the weird off the court stuff. Like the way that he talks, the way that he takes responsibility.
He's humble for sure.
I mentioned it before though. It is a business for him, and usually you don't see that mentality in guys until they're like older in their late 20s.
And he understands what it takes to win. I think he's not looking for the recognition. He's not looking for everyone to just praise him. He doesn't care about those things. And man, the Thunder got a gem having a guy like Steven Adams because number one, there's not a prototype player better than Steven Adams that Russell Westbrook works with.
Yep.
We talked about minutes for Adams and points, and Samuel on YouTube had mentions that Adams with a little less minutes equals being even more useful during really clutch situations.
I agree, Samuel.
Think about it.
Yep.
That's a good point.
For sure. And if you want to say clutch situations are playoffs or end of the year, the last 10 games, because, man, I'm just telling you, to me, it looks like he wears down.
No, I think you're right about that.
And so if we're going to let's set the minutes per game for Adams at 30.5. You got Nerlens Noel on board. It's a huge get. And you got to think that the reason they bring him in is kind of theoretically to
spell.
Yeah, to not have to use Adams and not have to run him into the ground by game 60. So let's set it at 30.5. He played 32.7 last year. Now, this is a 2.2 minutes a game drop-off. Maybe some of that could be, maybe you blow out more teams. Maybe you're involved in more blowout losses, whatever the case may be. How do you feel about that? Because I think the Thunder ideally would like to keep him around 29.
Yeah, I was going to say under. I was going to say
I'm all over it.
I was going to say 28.5. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that you are going to – one of the things that sucked about watching the Thunder last season is just like, man, no game – I mean, we had some blowouts, but, man, it was just so tough. Yeah. And it felt like every game you're just like, man, I can't go to bed. And sure enough, almost every time you're just like, they came back or, like whatever it was. I think you're going to see a lot more games. I'm not saying necessarily that I think this means they'll be like way better, but I think you'll see more games where they've got it figured out start to finish, and Adams maybe doesn't play for a lot of the fourth. Or,
you're going to go over here, Rob.
Yeah, I'm going to go over just because I'm hoping he won't wear down. I think you can – you needed Adams out there so much because he's the defensive anchor for this team, regardless of who else is out there. Like, we needed Adams out there, and so I think that will continue, and I hope that – and we're not saying it's going to be a lot more, but I would say, like, I wouldn't be shocked if he even went over what he did last season, and maybe we're looking at, like, 34 minutes.
I mean, see, that's where I'm interested. What does Noel mean to this team? If that's the case, if he averages 30, because those guys aren't going to play a lot of minutes together, if any.
I think you can. I think that they will. I think they'll play a little. There will be stretches where those two guys will actually play together.
I definitely don't doubt Billy Donovan tries it because that guy will try every little thing that he can think of, but it just seems unrealistic in today's NBA.
It's going to clog up the paint for sure. Yeah. Like those are two guys that are mostly going to do the same thing. But yeah, that is true as well. But I think if you can utilize both of those guys in pick and rolls, hopefully, obviously with the other one underneath, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, no one's stretching the floor there.
You do have the ability for both of them to come up and set picks, the double horn that we've seen. And so, like, I think you can utilize them both at the same time.
I'm with that.
Do the last one on Adams, the double-double.
Yeah. Had 28 last year. He's a guy, which is a good number, man.
Yeah.
When I was looking up that number and I was trying to set this number, I was like, what do you have, like 18 or 19? And I was like, damn, 28. Not bad. Not bad.
Guessed it, yeah.
So I'm going to set it right around there, 27.5.
I'm going to go over because part of it is just I expect Adams to be really great again. And so for that, I think you have to continue to go over on some of these. And so this is a big one, I think, because like hopefully he continues to grow. Right. And that we're going to see that. And the biggest part of that is continuing to get rebounds and then hopefully scoring consistently.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to say under just because I guess I'm just hedging my bet. I posted on Twitter. I think I've mentioned before, I think sometimes like we try to be so objective that sometimes it's not fun when you don't say what you really think, like what's your gut think.
What you want.
And I think my gut says that Noel and Schroder are going to be huge gets for OKC in like bigger ways than maybe we even think. And so if Noel plays the way that I think that he'll play on a new franchise with actual chances, Noel, you're watching the Golden State game where you're seeing, oh, wow, Oklahoma City won that series against Golden State in the regular season. Obviously, it's a different animal. If Noel embraces this opportunity, he works hard this summer, which I have no reason to believe he won't, I think he plays more of a role. And I think just by numbers, there are more opportunities for him to share the load with Adams, and maybe Adams doesn't get as many rebounds because maybe he's just not the workhorse as much.
So really quick, Twitter on this, we posted this one on Twitter. 80% say over.
Wow. Double doubles?
For double
Nice.
doubles. Wow.
The thing about like they obviously bring in Noel because they want to be able to give Adams a break here and there.
Right.
But what's cool about Noel is that you're right. Adams is the defensive anchor to this team. I mean, you can make a case it's Andre Roberson, but defensive anchors tend to be big guys in the middle that are just kind of
protecting the rim,
right?
Mostly, yeah.
Nerlens Noel can come in and do a little bit of the same things that Adams. He's a better shot blocker than Adams. He's not as good of a physical defender. He's not as good of a rebounder as Adams, but he can scare some guys from driving the lane. And it's nice when you can actually bring in a guy. So think about this: the Thunder's backup 5 last year was Patrick Patterson.
Yeah,
he's not scaring anyone away from driving to the rim.
No.
And he's not comfortable there. When you can see a guy that's not comfortable in his own position,
right.
Like Nerlens, that's his shit, dude. That's
and then
what they use him with.
Then pair him with Jerami Grant on the floor. Man, that can be scary. That has scary potential. Now let's move on to an already fan favorite. We only have one question for this guy. One over under. Deonte Burton. He's on a 2-way. Everyone loves this guy. Everyone wants him to just be, just the next big story out of nowhere guy. Korean League MVP. He's fun to watch. He's like a linebacker playing basketball. So let's just do this. How many games is he going to see the floor? 5.5. For reference here, Daniel Hamilton, who was on the 2-way contract last year, played 6. PJ Dozier on the other 2-way played 2.
I'm going to get some unfollows
on
Twitter for this, but I'm going under. And I'm going well under. I'm going to say, 3 maybe. Maybe, and that's if we're just beating the crap out of someone. It's like, hey, run out there, kid. He just doesn't. With so many guys, when you've got Nader, when you've got TLC, when you've got all these, and Ferguson, all these young guys that kind of also fill that same kind of spot that I think they want to see a lot more of. I think they're going to get all those minutes that could be available for Burton. I just don't think he sees the floor very much.
Yeah, Burton is listed as a guard, but I actually think this team sees him more as a 4, as a super undersized 4, because obviously the dude's strong. Look at him. He's wider than he is tall. I mean, the guy is stacked, And so it's hard to imagine a 2-way guy just getting out there and playing a bunch of games. Yeah. But at the same time, man, it'd be a cool story if he did. If he came out and like, whoa, this dude can – when you watch him, it's like this guy can play.
Yeah.
But if he comes out and does it against NBA guys where you're like, this guy can hold his own against this competition, that'd be fun.
I'm going to say under 2. I was literally going to say the same thing. There's part of me that wonders if he'll even get to see the floor.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it sucks for him because this is arguably the best and worst season to be on the Thunder. Because
it's a 2-way contract.
Well,
though.
right, but I'm just saying, like last season, you didn't have that deep of pockets that you could go into. But this season, you have TLC, you have Nader, you have now, you have Ferguson, you have Abrines, you have now Felton, which may play the 2, and then you've got Diallo. there's kind of a thing there, and you just don't know what's going to happen if one of those guys pops off.
That is why I say that I just feel like that he's more of a big guy, a 4 for this team.
That's exactly where I was going. To your point, you kind of changed my mind a little bit, because one of the things is we are really thin at the big man position.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's by design.
Yeah,
it's
you
weird.
could have him. You could have him there. There were times last season where Patterson played the 5, or most of the season, all of the season, or you could go small with Grant. So yeah, I could see it.
You just have to remember, with that two-way contract, you've got to be careful with it, because you only get so much time with it.
45 days.
If you really want to maximize that, like, you have to plan it out really accordingly, and that's a tough thing to do.
It's funny to look at the two ways this year compared to last year. Last year, Daniel Hamilton, PJ Dozier, they're guards. They're 2 guards. Maybe you can say one's of 3, but they're guards. They're wings. Now the two ways this year are Deonte Burton and Tyler Davis, 2. Maybe a 4 and a 5. Like Tyler Davis is for sure a 5, but if what I'm saying is true, it's a real change in philosophy you're seeing from Sam Presti in the front office, and we've kind of watched it happen over the course of a couple of years here. Now, another fan favorite that we're going to move on to is Hamidou Diallo. People just reading the roster alphabetically, like who they getting to next. Let's start with games with him, because this is interesting. It's really interesting how Billy Donovan's going to pick and choose who he wants to play and how he wants to play him and how many minutes he's going to play him. So let's just start with Diallo. I'm going to set the games at 20.5 games.
Whoo!
Yeah, agreed. I'm going under on that.
Easy under for you?
Not easy. I mean, he's definitely going to throw him out there at times and see what he can do.
So you think he's an end-of-the-bench young guy that's just going to sit there and watch and learn all season long?
I think so. Yeah, that's kind of how I view him. But I mean, you look at, not that it's necessarily the same thing, but I mean, Terrance Ferguson played, what did he play last season?
Like 70-something games.
Yeah, and so, not that it's the same thing, but you're talking about way less games.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think the number is bad, but I do think that it'll be under.
Honestly, what added to this number is just the Billy Donovan factor.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I think that my personal take, it's so tough, because when you look at last season and you look at now the rotation, one of the things that we really added that provided a lot is something that fans need to remember, is that we brought back Roberson. So that guard rotation, and we're not bringing back Brewer, I don't think. So that guard rotation is now a little bit shorter, and we've added bench depth. And those two things we really needed. We needed the starting caliber guard, which we already had in Roberson, but we also got Noel and we got Schroder. Both of those guys are depth on the bench. Those are guys that you can look at. And so for me, I just think that the rotation at the 2 position is a little bit unclear to me, because here's the thing, to your point, if you told me, if I'm predicting right now 20 games, that's a lot. But also, if he gets out there and crushes it, it's his job to take, because the 2 position, I mean,
he's an
it's
offensive
not like
mind.
Felton makes him automatically 3rd string. I mean, you could go out and outperform Felton.
The thing that I think goes against Diallo here is that he's an offensive-minded player. If he was defensive-minded like Ferguson was last year, and that's really what he focused on, he might get a little more opportunity out there, because if they say, look, this guy competes and he has good feet, he can play one-on-one defense, Diallo might not be there yet.
See, I think more so what you're talking about, though, is effort. Like, as long as he shows the effort on the defensive end.
That's true.
Because you kind of do have the opposite of what the other guys kind of do for you. Like, maybe there's a point there where he could kind of fill that role a little bit.
And that's a good point. Like, the opposite of Diallo gives you the opposite of what Ferguson provides you a little bit. Obviously, they're both uber athletes. But is that just Sam Presti kind of covering every angle here and saying, I want to have my options a couple years down the road, because maybe Diallo turns into an adequate defender that can go get a bucket for himself, while maybe Ferguson is an above-average defender that can't get a bucket for himself, but can make a spot-up shot.
Right.
And he wants to have the ability to pick and choose there.
He's working on some CIA-level technology where you just take all of them and combine them into one player. That's why he's trying to get every facet of a super athlete, and then he just blends them into one person.
You're right.
Yeah.
And he gets another Russell Westbrook.
But that's true. Diallo's fun to watch dunk, man.
Dude, he's got hops.
Yeah, he can jump. Let's move on. Raymond Felton. Now, this is an interesting one. This might be, man, this is up there for the most interesting player and role on the team next year, because of what we've talked about,
Right.
because of that wing depth. So let's do this, because I've been on the record on the show saying that I think he's third string. He's going to be a guy that falls out of the rotation with the acquisition of Dennis Schroder. I could be wrong. I've admitted that I think that Billy Donovan might, if he starts to not trust Abrines, Terrance Ferguson,
Right.
Any of these other young guys, TLC, he's going to throw Felton out there. He's going to. So let's do this. Games for Felton. Games that he plays in, 55.5.
Way over for me.
Really? So
Yeah.
you kind of think that he's in the rotation.
He's going to play at the 2. I think I'm not going to say on a regular basis, but semi-regular basis. Like, I expect to see that, whether it's with Russ or with Schroder. Like, I don't expect him to get a lot of run as, say, the point guard. Like, I think whenever he's out there with Schroder and with Russ, I think you're going to sometimes see them try to get Russ to play off the ball a little bit more.
Right.
And so I think he's going to be, I think it's way over that
So
number.
you said he's going to play the 2 a lot. So percentage, let's do this number. His percentage of minutes at the 2, 50%.
Yeah, that's the hard part, because
Yeah.
you said 50. So I will say that he will do over 50% of his minutes will come at the 2.
So Raymond Felton is now a shooting guard.
For this team.
I mean, that's how he
yes.
plays. That's how he's not really a guy that sets up
No, he's
people.
not. Yeah, he's not going to be doing
He's
that.
an
And like you
okay
said,
spot-up
he's
shooter.
He hustles on defense, and he's got
Yep.
the
Yeah.
size. I've said about Raymond Felton for a long time. Fans make fun of him.
He's got the width.
He's got it. Well, right. He's the
Girth.
thick
That's a
daddy.
better way to
He's
put
the
it.
thick daddy. We all know. But I do think that he has the size to defend the guard position. And I think that's one of the things that makes Roberson so great, is that he is a 2 guard, but he's lanky and lengthy. And so, obviously, Felton doesn't have the length, but he does have the size to bump you.
Yeah, and he competes.
and knock you off, and he does compete. And he's at the age of his career. He's always been one of those grindhouse guys. I think he's a guy that, as an opposing 2 guard, you don't want that guy on you, because he might bump you, and he's gonna give you the finger shake, and
he's
not
gonna be a
my
guy.
house
That's a
kiddo.
good point. He's gonna be a guy that is gonna do what he feels it takes to win.
Yeah,
he's
agreed.
gonna, and especially whatever it takes, whatever Billy Donovan asks him to do, that is what he's gonna go do. Right.
Right.
That's Raymond
Completely
Felton's
agree.
personality. He doesn't seem all too bothered by Dennis Schroder coming in.
And you got to give him credit
secretly
because
happy.
it worked. There were games where he just like, hey, I got this is on my back now. I'm going to do this until Russ and PG come back in.
Yep.
He did it so many times.
Yeah, I mean, God, man, that the more we talk about the bench, the better. God, it just
I
feels.
completely agree,
That's
dude.
the biggest improvement on this team is that bench.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, but it also, I do wonder, like, how much, because what I wanted all last season was I wanted them
Melo.
to have. No, I didn't want Melo. I mean, I'm saying, like,
I'm
as
trying
the
to guess.
season-
I'm just trying to
as the
read
season
what
was
your
going
lips are gonna
on,
say.
like, it was clear what this team needed, and so
Melo to
no,
the
they
bench?
didn't. That would have been nice.
Oh, okay. I thought that's where we're going.
But if they could have gotten a backup center,
Uh-huh.
you said Patrick Patterson was the backup for
Right.
the most part.
Right.
Like, you needed that so bad. This
Slide
team needed
everyone
it.
up.
Yeah.
That's what I've said. I think that in essence, OKC got 3 players. They got Noel and they got Patterson. The Patterson we thought we were gonna get. I'm putting my bet down on that. I think that Patterson's gonna be like the guy we thought we were getting from Toronto. I think he's gonna be a guy. I think his shooting is gonna improve. I mean, like you said, he hit a lot of threes last season, although not at a reliable clip. I think that him not being a rim protector makes him look a lot better as a defender, because you saw some of the things. He had some really crucial clutch play, but was it under the basket? No, it was
No.
at the top of the
Right.
key, or it was, like whatever. So
He's a switchable big that
Agreed.
that is going to be able to guard the ball.
but your center can't be that anymore. I don't feel like. Or do
No,
you
he can,
disagree?
but
Do
he
you
just
think
needs to be
can?
able to. He just has to be able to
Maybe
protect the
he
rim.
just can't be.
Just has to be able to protect the rim if
Yeah.
you're going to play
And-
the backup.
and he
center.
can't.
All right, and rebound, by the way. Oh my
Wow.
God, that was
No more there.
close.
No more.
You're
For those that just listened to the audio,
I almost knocked over a glass of wine.
yeah,
Your
and
coaster's on like little.
So we're going to blame the
razor.
coaster
Wow.
for you
It's
smashing
it's
the
on
cup.
it's on the.
that's a
it's got-
fine for blaming others.
All right.
All right.
Victim blaming is what it is.
So over under that happens. Let's go with 5 the rest of the season. That
What, me knocking that over?
yeah.
Under, way
An
under.
almost.
Oh man,
over.
you guys are way.
I'll go
way.
under. I'll go under that. But if you just said 2.5, I go over.
I'm going over,
What's
and
a
he's gonna knock it over at least 3 times
What's
where
a
it
half?
spills.
Is it-
Wow. Oh no. All right, last one for Felton, and I want to ask you this, Rob, because I'm really interested on your take on what his role is going to be. Because, like I said, I think it's super interesting and intriguing what's going to happen with him. Minutes per game, 11.5. Played 16.6 last year, obviously as the backup point guard. He's not the backup point guard anymore. 11.5 minutes per game.
I'm gonna go over, but not very much. Like I don't.
I think it's a good number.
Whenever I saw that number, I thought I would just go under. But after like talking about this and kind of thinking he will have a bigger role, I feel like I have to go over. But it's like really close.
Right. Yeah, and he might be a guy that goes out there and gives you just 12 solid minutes a game, and that's kind of what you look for in Raymond Felton. Let's move on. Terrance Ferguson. We're just nailing these wings right off the bat, and it's good because we're getting to the good stuff. Minutes per game. He averaged 12.5 per game last year, which I would have guessed it would have been more. Did your computer die?
She don't. She go. Just add to the.
She go.
Add to it. You know.
Oh, God. What a terrible day.
This is fun.
It's
Yeah.
okay. Let's just kind of...
Yeah. Let's go.
Now you're clear and you're free and you're no distractions and you're just going to be here with us.
Feel naked.
In the
So
moment.
stop looking at me.
I saw that you're like at 7%
It's at
better.
4 now. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I've got my computer in my bag, but still. Well, I'm not used to using this. Like everything's weird for me. This
It's
has
okay.
just been weird.
It's okay. The excuses are off the charts. All right, minutes per
It's
game
August.
for Terrance Ferguson. He averaged 12.5 last year. Let's go set it at 15.5. The same as Abrines. The same number I set for Abrines. 15.5 Terrance Ferguson. Over. Under.
You said over?
I said over.
Interesting.
Wait. So you seem confident. How far over?
I just, this is one of those things. Here's the thing: the objective person to me says, "Well, we don't know. We'll have to see the rotation. He needs to see."
Well,
how
yeah,
much
that's
weight."
not the game.
Right, but that's why I said over really freaking fast. I think that he's gonna play. I think they're riding heavy on him. I think the rumors that came out that there were teams that were like, "Yo, we want Ferguson." We were obviously extremely active on the deadline. During the deadline and before, and we had players that were considering coming that would have played the 2 guard. I think that the Thunder like him. I think they want him to play, and you can bank on Abrines, who I think also is going to play more minutes.
So you think Abrines and Ferguson are the main 2 wings off the bench?
I do think that, yes. And I think that's where Rob and I disagree a little bit. I think some of the share of minutes that Rob think will go to Felton, I think those will go to Ferguson.
Where are you at on this? So you're going to go under here, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I think it would be better for the Thunder if it were over. Like if he works out, like if he is playing really well and he can be trusted. I just don't think that's the case. Maybe it happens next year. Like maybe it's his 3rd year that you really finally trust him. I think this year, as the season goes on, it's going to be Raymond Felton that's going to be more trustworthy in situations, and so I think that's where we're going to see him more.
I wonder if that's a thing that comes to fruition, though, as the season progresses. So it's like maybe they start out with Ferguson and Abrines as the main 2 wings off the bench.
Right.
But then as the season goes on, they're like, you know what? We're playing for standings here at this point. Let's put a guy that we trust a little more in Raymond Felton out there. Game 40, game 50, game 60, whatever. As the season starts winding down and you're really playing for your spots. Could be something like that. I'd lean under, but I think you're right, Jacob. I think the team really likes him. They want him. They want it to be over. And I think that defensively, he gives you what no other wing off the bench is going to give you.
Mm-hmm.
And if my source is correct about someone who's extremely close to Ferguson and knows him on an extremely personal level, if what this person said is true, which is that, quote, he gained a lot of weight this summer and we love what we're seeing on the defensive end. That is the exact quote. If that's true, and not just, like we all see rose-colored glasses for the people that we really care about. If that's true and he really is crushing it, that's even another dimension, even in addition to his athleticism.
And he shot 43% from the corners last year, and that was a number that continuously increased. And you might want to say Abrines is the better shooter, and Abrines is absolutely the better shooter. But maybe you don't need the better shooter. Maybe you need the guy that's better from a certain spot, and that could be Ferguson.
Yeah.
It's man.
No, I'm with you.
It's so interesting. So let's stick with the 3-point percentage. Let's say 35% for Ferguson. How much do you trust this guy's shot? He shot 33% last year. Obviously, 43% from the corners. Maybe he sticks to the corners a little bit more. Maybe his shot develops. I'm going to set that number at 35%, 3-point percentage for Terrance Ferguson. What you got?
So you have it going up. It was at 33, and you have it at 35
that's the
overall.
number. It's league average, right? 35% is about league average.
I'm gonna say over. I'm gonna say just a hair under 37. I think he's gonna be at 36.5. I think that eventually
That's a win for the Thunder.
it is a win for
That's
the
a
Thunder.
huge win.
I think that eventually he will be a very serviceable shooter, someone that maybe has the reputation of Abrines that knocks him down like automatically, as they say. But I don't necessarily think that you're gonna see him just like, oh my God, where was this guy? But I think that you'll see him more confident. And like with no Melo, that's 18 shots that go somewhere.
Well, we saw streaks of it. I
Yeah.
mean, was
True.
I mean, there were streaks where it was like, holy cow, yeah, he can really shoot the ball. And then there were times where it was just really rough. He just lost all confidence in his shot. And so I think it starts out the season if they show confidence in him and the desire to have him out there, and he can kind of find his groove a little bit early, I think it would be over, but I'm going to go under on this. I just feel like it's 1 year a little bit too early for Terrance Ferguson.
Let me ask you this, Rob, real quick. Does Terrance Ferguson start the year off in the rotation?
Yes. Because, like Jacob was saying, like I think Billy Donovan wants that. I think the Thunder want that to work out. They
It's a guy they drafted, a guy that
needed-
they invested in.
and you hope that you were right, and you hope that he just all he has to do is develop, right? Like just continue to work in the system and get better.
All right, let's do this. The pecking order, this is going to be an interesting over-under.
This is a good one.
Pecking order on Billy's bench wings. So the list of Abrines, Ferguson, TLC, Felton, Diallo, and Nader. Talking 6 guys here. And we're going to rank them basically, but let's do this at the end of the season. Not at the start of the season, at the end of the season. We're going to set Ferguson's rank at 2.5. That's his over-under.
Okay.
So if you might think Abrines is number 1, maybe you think Ferguson is 2. Maybe you think Felton's 2 and Ferguson's 3. If you think Ferguson's higher than 2.5, then you're going to say over.
Right.
Okay, so 2.5.
So I'm gonna go at the end of the season. I'm gonna go that he is going to be over 2.5.
Meaning he'll be one of the top 2 wings off the bench.
Oh, I've messed that up then.
Okay.
No, I think he will be
Under.
under.
Under means bad.
Okay, so then, but I feel like 2.5 under 2.5 would be 2.
The number's higher,
So
but
that he
the
would-
ranking is lower.
I think he will not rank as high as 2.5. I think he will be
Under.
3. Yes, he will be
Okay.
under. Really quick though, we said we did minutes, and so Twitter put for 15.5 minutes for Ferguson next season.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter actually went under at 61%. So I think Thunder fans are also a little bit skeptical that
Sure.
season 2 is.
we could probably work out the Thunder's rotation based on Thunder Twitter. Just
Might as
responding.
well.
Yeah, this is good. Let's move on to a big one. Paul George.
Who?
I think he's gonna play a lot.
you-
Truthfully, I think he's gonna see the ball. I think they like the guy. I think
Over-
they like what he could do.
Over under 3-year contract. Huh? Huh?
Somebody's getting a tattoo because.
Oh my gosh! I gotta get on it too. All right, let's set the points per game for Paul George. Melo's out the door. He averaged 21.9 last year, which was, I would say that Paul George would probably say that he was expecting to average a little more than that as a Thunder. I think we all did, but Carmelo's gone. I'm gonna set the number at 23.5.
Over.
That's
Over, yeah.
That's close to his career high, which I think is somewhere around 24.
We're going over.
Easy over for you guys, everyone.
Oh,
Under.
I think one. Whoa. Okay.
You take it back right now.
I'm gonna go first because
go for it.
I like the over better, so I like my point of view better.
Go for it.
Look, okay, if he doesn't hit that massive slump after the All-Star game, he's already way over that number anyways.
No, I don't know if that's true.
Well,
I don't think that's true. Not to poke holes in you, but I know what you're saying. That
I mean, he
it's
shot
okay.
like 29% from 3 after the All-Star.
No,
break.
it was
He
a massive
off.
slump.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing that. It's just I don't think he was averaging over 23.5 before that.
was he not?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It would've
Well,
been- he
I don't
might have been
remember
around
at the
there.
time. That was
okay.
a long time
It's
ago.
okay.
But without Carmelo, go ahead, Justin.
Either
Keep
way,
going.
like the point is, like, if he doesn't have that massive drop off, I think he continues to score more. I don't think you're gonna have that drop off.
was really
I don't
finding
think it's
your
gonna
groove, his
exactly.
groove.
I don't think he's gonna have a more consistent season from day one until April. So I think you're going to see that consistent scoring, and I think Russ kind of defers to him a little bit, knowing that he's the guy now. So
where are you guys feeling? What's the number you guys are feeling?
So I would say more like 26.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a career high for Paul George.
I think a lot, and I would expect him to have a great season this year. I think that he is going to be...
Are you setting yourself up for a little disappointment here?
Every year I do that. What are you talking about? But I think a lot of Melo's points, or I think...
They got to go somewhere.
Paul George, yeah, well, I hope I'm wrong on Adams. I hope Adams gets a few of those per game. Let's say 2. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think he will, but I hope I'm wrong. But... Paul George, to me, is next in line, I feel.
There's also Schroder coming
to grab
in.
some of those. Yeah, Schroder, obviously. But I feel like Paul George is going to grab some of those as well. And so, yeah, I think he's going to have a great year.
Man, that'd be... If he averages 26 a game, he will be up there in MVP conversations if the Thunder have a good season. What you got? You say under.
Say why
we
it's
gotta
under.
we gotta get the other side here.
All right, so
You think he sucks?
no, that's not true. I don't. So here's my thing. I was saying that just to be a little bit contrarian, but I don't think it'll be. I do think under, but I don't think it'll be much. I think it'll average more. He was at what 21 last year.
21.9.
So you said 23.5. I think it'll be more like 22, 23. Here's what I think. I think that last season, who do you rely on to score, like, off the bench? I mean, there just wasn't anyone. Those points had to come from your 3 guys, and really, they had to come from your 2 guys. And like you mentioned, post All-Star break, Paul George fell off a cliff. It was not great. I think Schroder, Patterson, I think you've got more, even on paper, more, because even before Melo came, there was kind of this thought of like, yo, but if he starts chucking, it's going to suck between him and Westbrook.
Yeah.
And what happened? He started chucking, and it sucked between him and Westbrook. I think Schroeder's going to come in. He's a guy that doesn't need to rely on a shot falling. He's going to drive every time. He's going to be playing against bench units instead of starting units. And I just think that those points, I don't think you're going to see like, man, Paul George was barely scoring points. I think you're going to see him get 20 a game. You're going to see the 30 games, the 40 games. But I think you're going to see things where like, man, they barely even had to play Paul George in the second half because, you know, they got a bench unit that can play.
To that point, though, I feel like we're going to see less of the... I don't know how many games he scored single digits last season.
I looked it up, and I think it was 5.
That's what I would have guessed is around there. I don't think we see that next year. I just don't think.
I agree.
I don't think he does that next year.
I agree.
think he scores a little bit more at the high and a little bit more at the low.
The good thing there, to go off your point, is the way he went out, man. 5 points in the elimination game. You know that's hanging with him.
Yeah.
Is that why?
He mentioned it.
Is that why we're looking at 3+1? Is because of how it just not necessarily specific, but because of how it ended.
I mean, he said that. He said it's not only that we didn't. He said,
but I wonder if it was the whole year or if it was specifically how he
if so,
went out.
it was all worth it to me.
He alluded to how I played. He said, you know, we didn't live up to our potential. But to Rob's point, he said, and the way I played. You know, he didn't forget. Like you're talking about. He comes here. We're welcoming him at the airport. He's seeing the most love, whatever. I mean, what was it? 2 of 12. What was it at the end? What was it last? I don't even. I blocked it. I don't even remember.
It was just real bad. 2 for 16, I believe.
Oh God, dude! You said you didn't remember, and then you said it
All right,
so quick.
let's
It's like you had it ready.
Let's move on. Defensive Player of the Year voting. Last year he finished 4th. Obviously, Andre Roberson got hurt, and I think that actually hurt Paul George a little bit.
Agreed.
So let's set the number at 4.5 because I think Roberson's going to get some recognition this year that he was picking up steam last year. Let's set that number at 4.5. Over is if he finishes 1, 2, or 3 or 4.
Oh, wait.
Rob.
Oh wait, see now Jacob's confused.
Now,
so.
If it's worse, then it's under. Get it? Under is bad.
Under. I'll jump in here.
It's the opposite of golf.
Okay.
So I think you're going to run into a situation where if you do have a healthy Andre Roberson, and we saw, voters I think saw how much Andre Roberson meant, but
guarding
also,
the best player and everything
exactly.
like that.
So I think you run into that classic situation, kind of like early years with Russ and KD, how they would split votes for MVP, and a lot of times. I think you're going to see the same thing with Defensive Player of the Year, where Dre and Paul George, and maybe even Steven Adams a little bit, if he can really anchor that team to the best of his ability, they split so many votes that they drop themselves down.
That's true. That's a good
It
point.
really depends on how well they play team defense, right? Because even whenever Roberson was there and how great they were during that stretch right before he got hurt, especially on defense. Like, to me, I think that they're going to continue that. So I'm going to go over, but he's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
I agree.
But I think he can finish in the top 4.
I agree, and especially the thing that inclines me to say over is his numbers. Yeah. He's constantly up there in steals, and his steals dropped pretty drastically when Roberson got hurt. And that tells me that Roberson is creating steals, and Russ has also dropped, by the way, when
and
Roberson
creating pressure too.
Yeah, right. No, it's the pressure that creates steals for those other guys, and guys like Paul George and guys like Russ, they have great ball instincts that they're going to go make plays like that. Yep. And so I think that sometimes voters are lazy and they look at those numbers and like, oh wow, Thunder top 5 defense, which a lot of people expect the Thunder to be a top 5 defense this year. Oh my God, Paul George second or first in the league in steals. I've always heard he's a good defender. Boom. That's my guy, or whatever, you know?
It's a sexier name than Andre Roberson.
Right, for sure. And no one wants to give a guy that is, he might average 1 steal a game, might average 1 block a game, but he can't shoot free throws. And no one wants to reward that guy.
Yeah. I think I'm with, did you say over?
I went over.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, he's not sure which. He just.
He's going to finish
I think he'll
top
finish
4.
third. I think he'll finish third.
That's very specific.
I think he'll finish
That's
third.
over.
Who's won?
Over. I think that you'll have
Kawhi?
I think you'll have Roberson. You may see a resurgence of Kawhi. You may see a guy
Draymond's always
like
up
Gobert. Gobert with a full season portfolio. You may see
Embiid, Horford.
Right. I think you'll see a dark horse like that, and I really do think that realistically you'll see both Paul George and Roberson in the top 4.
All right, let's keep this moving, guys.
That would be insane, by the way.
That would be.
I mean, I think by all accounts, it should have possibly been that way last year.
Adams at 5. I agree with you.
Yeah.
We're right there.
Let's keep it going. Yeah. Percentage of minutes of Paul George's minutes without Russ. Now, you're going to have to think about this one a little bit. Last year, 19.4% of his minutes were without Russ. Obviously, he was running those second units. Let's set the number at 19.5. So we're going to say it goes up a little bit, but now he has a guy like Dennis Schroder that he can play with, and maybe they stagger Russ and PG a little more than they did last year, and so maybe more of his minutes are without Russ. So that's what I'm setting at 19.5% of Paul George's minutes without Russ, over or under?
Under.
Think Billy really just tries to keep them on the court together, let Schroder do his own thing out there?
I do. I just don't think you have to I think it's the same thing with Adams. You've got to, Schroeder's not necessarily the exact replacement, that you can correlate like what you can do with Noel and Adams, but you can trust Noel to hold down the fort while Adams is on the bench, and I think that you can trust Schroeder to score points while Paul George because that you
got to give Schroeder some sort of weapon offensively though, right?
And that's where kind of I'm hedging my bets that I think that with Grant and with Abrines and with some of this 2-guard play, I think that you have those weapons. I think that it'll just look a lot different. But I say under. I don't think that you're going to see him a lot of. I don't think you'll see as much staggering. You'll still see it a lot, but I don't think as much.
What do you think here, Rob?
I think that Billy is going to stagger their minutes quite a bit. I think that you're going to see a lot more of what that first year whenever you had Russ and KD, and that was what Billy did. He would take one of them out early, and then you would have the other guy that would be in there, and then they would switch at the end of the quarter. I think that's probably – I think we might see it revert back to that a little bit more, even though I feel like this team is I won't say as complete as that team because I don't think that they are, but as they're a little bit closer. They're closer to that team in terms of roster structure. And so I do still feel like we're probably going to see those 2 guys staggered, kind of like what we did with KD and Russ.
It took Billy forever to do it with KD and Russ. People were getting on to him for so long, then he finally started doing it.
Yeah.
Did you have something?
No, I'm
just
you were
staring at each
you were
other.
looking at me like you did.
I'm thinking through because you're right. Because I was thinking through like that staggering thing.
I don't know the answer to this one.
Maybe
I do. I answered
that's,
it.
That staggering thing, I think, kind of really started to pick up steam when you had Kevin Durant and when he went to Golden State because you had so many All-Stars that you could stagger. And then I think then it kind of became the new meta that you can play.
Well, it was always
people
an
start
issue with
doing
the
that.
Thunder, and their bench was just so weak and so short for a while.
And when's the last time it was really good? When you think about, man, that was a great bench unit. It was Reggie. Was it not Reggie Jackson? Because with Cantor,
I don't
you
even
had
know
the
if it was
caveat.
really good. Maybe it was pretty good then, I guess.
Reggie had some games where you're just like, oh my gosh, this is legit.
Yeah.
Reggie's crushing.
Yeah,
and
for
with
sure.
Cantor, he had those games, but then you're also like, but he also probably gave up 30 points too.
So evens out.
Right.
All right, last one for Paul George, and I have a feeling where Rob's going to go here because he went way over on the points. Field goal attempts. This is an interesting one to me. Obviously, there's more to go around, but you do have a guy like Dennis Schroder who's going to get his. And this probably correlates with that last question. How many percentage of his minutes does he play without Russ? How many does he play with Schroder? How many does he play without either of them, if at all? So I'm going to set the number at 18 field goal attempts per game for Paul George. He averaged 17 last year.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. And I think part of what we had already talked about with Roberson helps Paul George on offense as well. He's not having to take on the best player on the other team now, and I think that helps him offensively. Feels a little bit better. He's probably going to put up more shots this year.
I want him to.
Yeah.
He needs to.
Absolutely.
Shoot the ball, dude. Just keep shooting. I don't care. Just keep shooting.
It's Paul George and it's Steven Adams are two guys that I'm always, for the most part, I'm saying let's keep getting those, find ways to get those guys shots.
Agreed. Let's move on to Jerami Grant.
JG.
Wait.
All right. No, I said it so quick.
Hey.
I just wanted it.
Hey, man. Sometimes, sometimes it works, and then other times it's not gonna.
Dear JG, can I call you JG? JG.
Nope, that ain't
Dear
it.
Jerami Grant.
No, you're digging too deep of a hole.
That ain't it either.
Dear Greer.
That ain't it
So
either.
what's
over.
the thing? Yeah.
Okay.
This is over, by the way.
Thanks for listening.
Jerami
No.
Grant.
All right, Jerami Grant averaged 20.3 minutes a game last year. Obviously, he just signed a big contract. There's some people that believe he's going to start at the 4. I don't think any of us here believe that's going to be the case, although I do think that he's going to be the closer ahead of Patrick Patterson. So let's set his minutes per game at 23.5.
He was where last season?
20.3.
Ooh, that's a
Yeah,
big uptick.
I thought you were going to say that's a good number, but
I gotta say under. I'm gonna say under, but not by much. I think
Under?
that's. Well, I'm gonna say I can't agree with it. Dude, I know you want me to be contrary, but like I'm
he's
just
trying
saying,
to persuade you to go over.
under. Are you kidding me? Tell me why it's different. No, I just think I think that
I
you're
think
gonna
I go under too. By the
I
way.
think you're gonna say like you said. I think he'll be the closer. I think you're gonna see him featured more. I mean, there were times where he was out. When they would play with Melo or which didn't happen much, but. I just think that you're going to see his minutes be way more impactful and him be a feature, but I don't think that you're going to see them uptick by like a significant amount.
I wonder if there's going to be an issue with fit with Jerami Grant to a certain extent.
Oh, God.
With Dennis Schroder and everything, because Jerami Grant's very much a guy that catches the ball and he attacks, and that's what Schroder does, and that's what Paul George does, and I wonder if Grant's probably not going to be your first option, maybe not even your second option in a lineup like that.
I'm gonna write the piece already right now. Are there problems in the locker
I'm
room?
not.
with Jerami
I'm not
Grant?
saying that. I just wonder if there might be it might be a little difficult for Billy Donovan to find where and how to play.
No,
Jerami
I'm with
Grant.
you.
I'm going over because I'm not sold that Patrick Patterson is going to work out.
I'm with
this
you on
team.
that, too.
And so I think
That's fair.
that it's going to be over just out of they need to have him in there because you can't really use Patrick Patterson, and so that's kind of where I'm at. It 100% helps that he's not going to have to play the 5.
Yeah.
Let me hit you with this, Rob. Points per game, 9.5. He averaged 8.4 last year.
Oh, I'm going to go over because I think he's going to play more minutes. And
What's your number?
Just slightly
I'm just
over.
attacking your questions.
I'm going to say
What's your number?
I'll say that he's going to do like 10 points, which now that I think about it, that would be incredible if he actually, if they can rely on him to get 10 points a night.
Man, you
that's
remember how the
huge.
year went on
Maybe
and how
way
he
over.
just got to the line, and got to the line, and
Yeah.
got to the line, and got it was awesome. He just continuously gets better. And that's the thing about Jerami Grant is I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I was saying about finding his fit and if he's going to be able to. Like, it's more about like how do you maximize him with this team, and I wonder if that might be kind of difficult.
Well, the beauty about him is that he doesn't
His
need
arms.
And his legs. And
That's just the whole thing.
The literal beauty
The
about
body
him is
and-
that he's carved
but
out of marble.
he doesn't need a lot.
He's like a
He,
Greek god.
doesn't require the ball a lot. Like to stay engaged. you don't have to keep feeding him. He's not going to get down on himself because he hasn't had the ball on a few possessions.
And
Like,
he
he's
still
going
plays
to continue.
defense.
Yeah.
He'll come and set a screen. He'll roll the basket hard. You can throw it up to him.
Which makes it easier for Donovan to continue to play him.
Here's a fun one.
I agree.
Game started, and let's take out injuries, okay? Let's not be like, well, I think Patrick Patterson's going to get hurt, so no,
Right.
none of that. 5.5 started one game last year, so this is basically a question: does he start? Does Billy Donovan ever give up on Patrick Patterson and rolls with Grant for a bit?
Under, he doesn't start. Patterson rolls hard.
What you got, Rob?
I'll go over. He does start. Patterson doesn't roll at all.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Justin,
yeah, yeah,
Lee-
yeah.
Over.
No,
He's
you
starting
were-
81 games because Patrick Patterson goes back.
Ah.
That's not true at all. No, I'm staying under. My iPad just died.
I go under too.
Okay, but how shocked, like, let's just say scale of 1 to 10, how shocked would you be if on opening night it's Jerami Grant instead of Patrick Patterson?
I'd be a little shocked.
I'd be pretty shocked.
Like, you're saying
7-5.
See, that's high to me. 'cause
I'd be around there too.
I'm still at, I would say, just slightly over that it's actually going to be Patrick Patterson. I think the fit is perfect.
Yeah.
It should be. Let's start it out and try it with Patterson. Based off of what we saw last season and how well whenever he didn't have to play at the 5, it seemed like it was better.
Right.
But I'm not sold that they didn't just sign Jerami Grant and that the goal is to see, no, let's use him and let's hope that this is the way it goes.
I also think that they know that Jerami Grant can do what he does best off the bench.
Agreed. Yep.
So I think that's where that comes from
To
me.
your point, though, I won't be mad. If they start him, I won't be mad because I think a lot of that has to do with their strategy with the 2 position. If it is Abrines and they're trying to like just feed him the ball and he shoots a bunch, then maybe shooting doesn't matter as much off the bench. Or you're trying to pair, the conversely, maybe you're trying to pair him with the shooter with Patterson. But I wouldn't be mad at all because I think that Grant has a shot. People keep saying, well, you can't start Grant. It's like, well, you could.
Yeah.
He does have a shot.
Yeah, and
he's got more of a shot than a lot of our.
He's so versatile,
Yeah.
man. Like, imagine a lineup with Adams, Grant, Paul George, Roberson, and Westbrook. The switchability is off the charts,
Yeah.
man. Like, the
Right.
length is off the charts.
Which,
so
to your point, is why he'll probably almost certainly be the closer.
you
So-
would think
So I'm with you.
in some capacity. All right, moving on. Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot.
Can't even say his name.
How
Under.
many times do you say that during a day? You've
Dude,
got it down
I
well.
whisper it to myself every hour on the hour. All right, games played. He played 52 last year for the Sixers. I'm going to set it at 60.
He played 52 games last
52 games. I'm going to set his number at 67.5. And the reason I'm doing this is because I think that they like him. I think that they're going to like this guy. I like the guy. I think that he fills a hole. He fits the Thunder mold. So let's set the number 67.5. What you got?
Well, one reason why you like him is because you love saying his name.
That's a good
That's
point.
a big
And you're
thing,
probably
but-
statistically, you're probably one of the only people that says it right. I mean,
Really?
that
It doesn't
number's-
seem that hard to
That
me.
number's got to be low. See,
Timothé
that's what every.
Luwawu-Cabarrot?
Somewhere Brian
Okay,
Davis is
cool.
saying it
You both can
perfectly
say
well.
it.
in
I
a
think.
French accent.
Yeah.
Over.
To no one. In particular.
It's over. I think. Going back to what we were asking about, like Ferguson, where does he land? Like, is he 3.5? Where's he landing? Or 2.5 rather? I think TLC is the second guy. I think it's Abrines
so
and then
let's
it's TLC.
let's bring that one in because that was my next one.
Yeah.
Is he play the 3?
The pecking order in the bench wings: Abrines, Ferguson, TLC, Felton, Diallo, Nader. I'm setting it at 2.5 with TLC there too. So you go over. You like him at 2.
I think he's the second one.
Interesting.
Wow.
You know what? I'm with you to a certain. I think that this guy ends up the backup 3 as the.
So
at-
you guys
I
are
think-
talking end of the season. You're
end
not
of the
talking
season.
beginning of the
end
season.
of the season.
Yeah, not big.
I'm gonna say under, but man, I'm gonna say 45. I'm gonna say 45. I think he'll play good minutes, but I think that you will see him in almost like a Hustis role, especially if you have a guy
He's
like.
so much better than Hustis.
Yeah, he's
Well,
a lot
okay,
better
and
than he is.
No, I'm not saying
I
that
hope
against
that
what you
are
just said.
right because Houston's one of those guys that I really wanted to be so incredible, but you just like your heart hurts because you're just like, man, I want you to be so good, but it's just hurting
He was
you
such
being
a
in
great
here.
guy.
Yeah,
Right.
Jason's
He's a
great.
great guy.
Great
You're
guy.
right.
Great guy.
Great guy. So I don't know. I say under, but I do, especially if he kind of carves out his role as the backup 3 and not a guy that gets weirdly put at the 2, which Billy I could totally see doing. But I just think there's also I could see them playing Ferg at the 3, and like especially if it's put on weight, and I could see him and like there's just so many potentials. So
I mean,
I'm
somebody's gonna have to play those. Like they're going to throw
Right.
guys. They're not gonna
Yeah.
play 8 guys throughout the season. Somebody.
Well, they might.
There's going to have to be other guys that come out and play, and so yeah, I think I would go over, but his minutes are going to be very low.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like so, I don't know. I mean, I would go over on the amount of games.
So the pecking order, where do you have him in that pecking order?
At the end of the season, I still think he'll be like, I would say probably 3 is what I would most likely go with.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's
And
not bad.
really, if he's 3, and you look at that
But he could
haul and
easily
TLC's a 3,
easily be 5 in that situation.
The reason I like
though.
him is he's shown the ability to shoot the ball a little bit, and
Right.
he's a guy that can get to the rim off the bounce. And Abrines can't really do that.
Right.
Ferguson can't really do that. Felton, he can do that a little bit. Diallo, I don't think you can trust a young guy like him to do that. And Abdul Nader, who we're going to talk about next, no one knows.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. Like he could be 3, he could be 5.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I will say, just with the ability to shoot the ball, like you see it kind of in his free throw percentages, with the experience, with the amount of games that he started, and with the fact that he kind of seems like a traditional 3, as traditional as a position you can have in today's modern NBA. So I could see him playing a higher number if he just carves out his role as a 3, and maybe he's not a focal point in the offense.
I agree. If he becomes that backup 3, that number skyrockets.
Yeah, I agree.
Abdul Nader, times traded, 0.5, over under.
I'm going under.
No,
Yeah, he'll be here.
You like him? Well, you like him to stay.
Yeah, he'll stay.
Okay. Pecking order, 4.5. on the bench wings, over
The
under.
last.
These are 6 guys here. Abrines, Ferguson, TLC,
Under,
Felton, Diallo.
last.
He's last, huh?
Wait,
Yeah.
that would be over, right?
Under.
Okay, I
That'd
don't
be
know.
under.
dude.
Under is bad. Under bad.
Under.
I thought we just spent
That's what I thought too.
Think of it physically, like so. Your top is 1, so over 4.5.
under.
So
Just
under
don't
is worse.
be dumb.
Under.
Yeah, I don't. This whole system is messed. I will say he will finish worse.
So,
Under.
I agree.
when we get
Under.
to this last guy, I mean, shouldn't we find some sort of comprehensive, or at least what we think, like, because it seems like there are a lot of different numbers floating out there. Like, what's the general consensus of where these guys land?
Well, we're gonna find that out.
If we can, well,
Let's
sorry,
do it right now. No,
my
let's do it right
iPad
now.
died.
Let's do it right now. So we got Abrines, Ferguson, TLC, Felton, Diallo, and Nader. Would we all go Abrines 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rob, I think you go Felton 2.
I do.
I go Ferguson too.
I'm gonna go TLC 2.
Wow.
And then I'm gonna go. Don't
So
do
we're
that.
in agreement.
Don't
You
do
guys
that.
are repeating each other.
But God, man, it's hard not to put Felton at 2 because I'm with Rob on that. Like, it just seems such a thing that might
It's
happen.
happening. Yeah.
So,
It is.
So I'd actually probably go Felton 3, Ferguson 4, Nader 5, Diallo 6.
I'm saying, don't hate me. I'm saying Abrines, Ferguson, and I'm gonna say Felton could be 4.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that you
It's-
could slot TLC
it's
at
not
3,
crazy.
Felton 4, and then I think you've got Diallo and the Nader.
I just think the Thunder really want to be young at the wing.
Yes,
they
for
really,
sure.
That's why.
Obviously, I mean,
Well, and I think that's the thing, and especially if you think about Billy's weird ass psychology, like you think about like Felton's a guy. The whole reason you got him so high is that Felton's a guy you know can do it.
Trustworthy.
But
yeah.
but as we saw,
He's
from,
limited,
He
but he-
loves
you can
using
trust him.
dudes that you don't trust. He
Yeah.
loves doing weird stuff that you're like,
All right,
not
guys.
now.
we got a few more here.
Yeah, go.
And we're gonna
Rapid
run
fire?
through this. No, not rapid fire.
that's not as
we're
fun.
not quite there yet.
All right.
Nerlens Noel. This is a fun one.
Here's a guy.
Minutes per game. Rob, I'm starting with you because you have an interesting take. You think Adams is going to be around 32, 33, 34 a game.
Yeah.
17.5 for Noel.
I'm-
over under.
I'm going to go under, but
Is that a loss for the Thunder?
no, I don't think so. Because I also think that those guys are going to play minutes together more so than I think probably anybody else
You
here.
spot Noel up in the corner.
But I don't think you're going to do that
I
now.
know.
Lord, bro.
43.
Evidently, it's going to be Adams who's going to be shooting the shoot. But I will say, I think that you will be able to play them together. I think that number is really close. Like, I think that's a really good number. And I think that that's perfect for what the Thunder need. Like,
Yeah.
I think that if you can, on nights, play them together as matchups need it. Like you can get by with that, and so I feel like he'll be right around 17 minutes a game.
I do feel like there's not many opportunities that matchups are going to call for playing Noel and Adams together. Maybe like the Pistons with Blake Griffin and Drummond.
I think there's I think you could, but you're also
The Jazz.
The Jazz at times, yeah. There's going to be teams out there, but he's averaged 26 minutes a game for his career, and he puts up 9 points. He's a productive player, man.
Yeah.
When he's on the court, he puts numbers up.
And that's what I'm saying, dude. My prediction, I think he's going to embrace this role. I'm saying over 18-5.
Well, he better embrace the role. He's signed, you know.
Well,
like,
I mean,
you can't
like
go into it. You
Yeah,
can't
but
sign
you
and then be like,
know.
I need more minutes.
Well, you tell that to, well, anyway.
I will. I'll email him.
You'll. All right,
I
we'll
will
work on that.
email him. So points per game, 7.5. He averaged 9.3 on his career. So obviously that's on 26 minutes. So his minutes are coming down to around 17.5 is what we're saying here.
I said 18-5.
7.5
I'm
a
not saying
game.
that at all. I'm saying over.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going over as well.
I'm gonna say.
No, he said over on minutes. You're going.
Oh, I'm going over on points. Like, I think they're going to be extremely effective minutes. And I think that you could see Schroder
If
and
he's scoring
Noel.
points like that in the amount of minutes that you're giving him.
He's the best player of all time. And
No. Did you want... Anyway, so what I think is going to happen here is that there's going to be times where he can't be trusted. He's going to be inconsistent at times.
Right.
And that's going to lose him favor, and then that's going to say, well, let's go more with Grant.
But you think he's going to average more than 7.5 a game?
I do think he'll average more than 7.5 a game.
That'd be
I
impressive.
think that it's going to be very streaky. I think some nights he's going to score 3 points a game. I think some nights he's going to score whatever the opposite of that would be to get it over 7.5.
I'm going to set the halftime eating incidents at 0.5 over under. He had the hot dog thing last year.
Under.
Under?
He doesn't
I
let that
don't
happen
even
again.
blame him for that.
No, I don't either.
He doesn't look like he eats hot dogs hardly.
No, he
ever.
doesn't.
That's true. And
Like,
if you can do it, like if you know you're not going to play, go get
He
yourself
probably
a hot dog,
He
dude.
probably needed that.
You're in
hot
the
dog.
NBA. You're
He's
young.
hungry. He
Have
probably
fun.
forgot. He probably got to the arena
Enjoy
late.
yourself.
He might have got a flat tire. You know something about that, Rob?
Yeah, man.
I'm going to go
That's what we
under
do.
just because if it does happen, the Thunder find a way to sweep it under the rug and like keep it very hush.
That's true.
So
The Thunder way.
even if it does happen, it could happen 5 times this year, but we won't know about any of them.
How great would it be in a blowout? You see like Russ, PG, some other guys just eating a hot dog while Noel is out there playing.
You know what would be better if it was something that required more just setup. So not a hot dog that you can just eat with your hands, but maybe like some hummus and pita, like where you need
God.
where you need like a TV tray, and they just bring something
I'm
like
not
that.
sure I know what hummus and pita are.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you're white as hell.
Chickpeas and bread.
yeah.
Actually, I think hummus and pita has become the whitest thing.
Yeah, it has.
You know. I don't know. All right, let's move on. Patrick Patterson.
Woo! Hit me, daddy.
Let's do
Let's
a
go.
minute. Let's do a minutes here. What we set the Grant? We set Grant at 23.5. We're gonna set Patterson's at 21.5, and this is presuming he's the starter. So he averaged 15.5 last year. Over under 21.5 minutes a game for Patrick Patterson.
well under.
I'm gonna say under too.
I'm
think
gonna
he
go well under.
You think he starts and plays well under that?
I'm not sold that Patterson is going to work out this
That's true.
next season. So that's what I'm basing this off of. Like I'm not sold that that's going to work out. I think they're going to have to rely on Jerami Grant more, and so I'm going to go well under. And I would be shocked if he finished where he finished last season. Like I think they're going to use him even less because I don't think it's going to work out.
So let me do this. Games in the closing lineup where he closes games. 24.5 over under.
Over.
You think he closes games?
Yeah, I do. I mean, that correlates with kind of how I feel like his development is going to go. I think that he's going to be the guy.
So that means you have Jerami Grant on the bench, I would assume.
Well, just under that number. I think that there's going to be lineups that
I
think, especially with Billy Donovan, I just think
Matchup
that they're going to
base.
be. Yeah, I think there are going to be times where he's killing it, and maybe he's hit 5 of 9 from 3, and you want him in the lineup, and maybe he's. Or he's just really hot defensively. He's got somebody's number. I absolutely think that will happen. And I think that could happen more than 20 times.
All right, Andre Roberson. Man, I'm
Dre.
so excited to watch Andre Roberson play again.
Yeah, right?
This is so he averaged 26.6 minutes a game last year on a team that he was very much needed. Let's bring that number down a little bit because you have Schroder coming in, and you would think that he's going to take a little bit of Roberson's minutes because the Thunder are trying to play fast pace. They're going to play to this. They're going to just try to outscore people at times, I would assume. So let's bring that number down to 25.5. Andre Roberson, minutes per game, over under.
Still over. I think you just it's going to start out under that when the season starts, just because You got to reacclimate him to playing at the NBA level, not just playing at NBA speeds again. But as the season progresses, I think just the mass of playing over that number gets it over what the number you said. So I just he's too important defensively to not play him.
Does he close games?
I think so. I think the
guys think?
Thunder get themselves into a good enough position where they're up late in enough games where Andre Roberson is required to be on the floor.
Well, I like that. I like that last part a lot.
Why? I mean, does he close?
I think
close
so.
games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think over just because I think that, to your point, you have Schroder, and I think that kind of alleviates some of the we can't have Roberson on the floor because it literally equals no points. I think that you have cushions and you have things that you can kind of live with, that you can have Roberson on the floor. And I also, by the way, I think that Roberson will spend some time with the bench unit. And I don't mean that he'll come off the bench, but I think that he will play with the bench unit a little bit, because I think that defensively those guys are still learning. And I think that, to my prediction, that Schroder and Noel and these guys really, if Patterson maybe does come off the bench, if he's not as effective as Grant, I think that you're going to have the ability. Last season, you couldn't afford it. Somebody had to get points on the bench, and you had to put starters there. But I think that you can put Roberson, although a starter, not a scorer, I think you can put him with the bench.
The team does feel very fluid as far as how you can utilize each.
That's why this is hard, and that's a good thing. Last season, it was like, which of the three not awesome players are going to play more minutes than they should?
All right, next, 3-point attempts for Roberson. We're starting to see them go down. Last year, he took 36 in 39 games. And as the year progressed, he was kind of stopping shooting the ball because, we all know why. I'm going to set it at the total at 55.5.
Attempts?
Attempts.
Yeah, I'm going to go over that.
You
I'm
think
gonna over.
I'm going to go on the record before you get into it. I think he pretty much stopped shooting the ball. I think he's going to stop shooting.
Well, that's a disaster for the Thunder.
I don't think so.
It is. That's terrible. If he doesn't
you
shoot
said
at
you
all,
didn't think so, but he said it is. So
if he doesn't shoot at all, that's terrible.
I don't want to say not at all, but I think that he's going to just try to really put an emphasis on keeping the ball moving, which he's very good at, and cutting to the basket and putting the ball on the floor. I think that's going to be his main thing.
Yeah, which I agree with that, but I thought, so as long as he's continuing to do that, that's fine. He still has to shoot the ball. You still have to make
But do you think he's going to be out there?
Yeah.
I mean, if you start Patterson, is he going to be out there?
I don't think Patterson is going to be. That's my thing as well. Is I'm not sold that that's what's going to happen, and so
we kind of represent two different realities. Patterson pans out. Patterson doesn't.
I'm scared of Roberson and Grant on the court to start games together.
That's fair.
That seems clogged. That seems.
Well, you're going to be really good defensively.
Sure.
You're going to be great defensively.
Right. For sure.
And that's why I think that they will close together a lot.
But I don't like the ball the ball movement that Patterson provides as opposed to Grant is just, it's not even close. Patterson keeps the ball moving. Now Grant, don't get me wrong, Grant is a better player, but I think just the fit. And you even said it, Rob, and you're not convinced that Patterson pans out. But I think that he's just such a better fit that if
on paper he's 100% the better fit with.
So do you think that? How big of a key? Where does that rank? Patterson fitting with the starters and working out, panning out with the starters. Where does that rank as far as the biggest keys of this season for you?
Fairly high. I think for me the biggest issue is still what do they do with that bench unit. Schroder working out with that bench unit to me is more key, and hopefully Paul George being with them for the most part I think is the most important thing to me. How does that all work, and can they figure that out this year? But I would say it's either second or third, probably, just off the top of my head, of trying to figure out what happens, how does that work, and how does Billy work those two guys in and out to make it be the most effective?
I'd say I was going to say third or fourth, because for me, I just kind of think about, well, how important was it that Melo fit in last season? And to me, that was still only third, because I thought Oklahoma City really lacked bench scoring, and they really lacked a starting shooting guard, and they really lacked a bench big. Those things now, I think it's less important, and I had Carmelo out of the third most important problem last season, so naturally I think he's probably at fourth. It is important, but I think it's way more important. Bench scoring covers a multitude of sins, and I think that if Schroder can go out there and score 15 a game, you're not like, oh God, Patterson is not. He's still kind of how he was last
Sure.
season. You can still cover that up.
Speaking of Schroder, let's hit him with this. Minutes per game for Schroder, 23.5.
I'm dishing that straight to Jacob because he's totally Team Schroder.
Yeah, I'm gonna say over, but not by much. I think that's exactly. I think that when he's in,
Dude,
he's
my
gonna
numbers
high
are
usage.
just on point.
They really are, and I'm trying to disagree with you as much as you can.
Well,
as
they're
much
not.
as I can.
You can't disagree. I mean, it's an over-under.
Well,
so.
you had a bunch of that were wrong, super wrong. So I don't want to give you too
What
much.
do you got on this, Rob? 23.5 minutes a game for Schroder. Because how many minutes is he going to take from Roberson? That's an interesting thing to me. Because that's basically Billy Donovan saying we're going offense here or we're going defense here.
Well, I also wonder, like, how many minutes does he take from Russ, and just trying to get Russ some rest and make sure that he is not
That's
having
huge.
to do everything.
Well, we can get to that right now. So I got Russ's minutes per game over-under set at 34.5.
It's got to.
He averaged 36.4 last year. But over his career, he's pretty much hovered around 33, 34, 35.
Yeah.
And so they want to bring that number down.
Because he's older, and I mean,
And he's just a guy that, like, the way he plays, like, if you can get him rest on the bench, you
Right.
want to.
Yeah.
right.
So,
And you also had Kevin Durant.
so let's just say this. Russ plays 34.5 minutes a game. That leaves 13.5 minutes a game for Schroder at the point guard position. And if I set this number at 23.5, that's 10 minutes a game with Russ on the court at the same time.
Which
I think it's over. It's over.
Which is you think it's over?
I think it's over, because I think that they want to just provide as many weapons on the court in closing lineups, and I think ideally they'd like to close games with Schroder and Westbrook on the court together. I don't know if it'll work.
Refresh me. How
That's a lot of minutes,
Did Reggie and Russ share the court a lot? Like, what
Yes.
was that? I'm trying to remember. I
Yep.
know that they did, but
For
how
sure.
was it super often?
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
lot. I mean,
That's a
remember in
lot
the
of
playoffs they
Especially down
started
the stretch.
they started starting Reggie in the
Right.
playoffs at times.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, you're right. It is a lot, and maybe Roberson is so important to this team that they can't afford to play those two together. But if this team is so hard to stop, if somehow Schroder and Westbrook work so well together, throw in Paul George in there too, and then you have Adams in the middle, and that team is unstoppable offensively.
The problem with playing them together is can either of them play off the ball well enough to
Yep.
make it worth it?
Right.
I think
And
Schroeder could, but I don't know if
I don't know. I don't know that I think that either of them.
I think
that's the
Schroeder
question.
would try. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And
But it
I
is
love Westbrook.
basketball. I mean, it's basketball, right?
That's true, it is basketball.
Westbrook's played with Reggie Jackson in the past, and Schroeder's played with Jeff Teague in the past.
Yeah, this
Like,
is a different Russ though.
For
right?
sure.
I mean, what he went.
habits are
That's a
different.
good
Yeah.
point.
It is a good point. It's a fair point. It's tough.
It's
to
a guy
say.
that doesn't have Kevin Durant. It's a guy that this is his team, and to Rob's point, like, he's the guy, and he's the guy expending most of the energy. Like, I think that's partly why we don't see him move
Huge
off
question, man. It's a huge question. Points per game for Schroeder, 13.5. He averaged 19.4 last year on 31 minutes a game.
ball. I say over 14-5.
Anything I say with Schroeder, you're going over.
Well, yeah, but that's my thing.
I'm not.
I'm over.
I'm not
Team
dogging him,
Schroder.
I am Team Schroeder. Schroeder, Patterson, Noel.
even though he shaved his head.
Wait, I didn't see that picture.
Well, you got. Yeah, he shaved his head.
Wait, who did?
Schroeder.
Did he
Yeah.
still put the thing on?
No.
Doesn't he know?
That's a
He
mistake.
paints it
we
on.
That's a
dyed our
mistake. He
hair.
should
Doesn't
have.
he know?
No,
I'm gonna go
13.5 points a game for Schroeder.
I'll go over, very slightly over. Like I do think, I do think that number's pretty good because, like, there's just so many other guys that are going to be scoring as well, and so I don't know. Like, I'm optimistic that he will come in and just fit and it will work perfectly. And I would think that number, if that is the case, that number is higher than what you have there, but. I think that it's going to be rough at times.
Right.
And if he is going to play with Russ, that's going to be a little awkward, and there's
It
going to
is.
be a feeling out phase.
There's always just the chance that they really get each other, though. That's and obviously that's what
Agreed.
That's what
That's what
we're
we're
hoping
hoping
for.
for,
That's
yeah.
what we're hoping for. And obviously this is taking a while, like going through these. We're gonna save the team ones for next week,
Yeah,
which will be good because then we can add some that we didn't already have.
And
But-
we'll know about Singler's. Well, we might. I don't know that they're going to wait for the deadline.
But it's gonna be interesting. Like if depending on how many, they're gonna this team's really gonna find their identity in how they decide to use Schroeder.
Yeah.
Right. If they play over 23.5 minutes a game for Schroeder, this team might lean on its offense. If they play under, this team's probably leaning on its defense. He's kind of like I don't know, a wild card here and how this team's identity, what it becomes.
Who sees more with Russ at the beginning of the year when Roberson is still trying to get back into the groove of things? Is it Schroder? Is it Abrines? Who do they lean more? Is it Felton? Who do they lean more early
Off
on?
the
Whenever
bench?
Roberson, well, just whenever Roberson's minutes are limited early on. Like, I wonder who do they?
I lean Abrines.
I
I do
also
too.
lean
So not
Abrines,
Schroder?
and that's where
No,
Ferguson comes in.
because I think they want to, just like any player, they want to maximize their strengths, and Schroeder's strengths are when the ball's in his hands.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to play him a bunch with Russ, the ball's probably not going to be in his hands, because a lot of people are like, who should play off the ball, Russ or Schroeder when they play together? I'm going to let you know right now, it's going to be, the ball's going to be with Russ.
Right, yeah.
Like, I mean, don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
In the words of the man himself. Like, that's just how it's going to be, right? You guys agree with
That's
that?
how
I
it
agree.
should be.
That's how it should be too. I agree. But I also want Russ to be able to trust him, because I think Schroeder does have the ability to make plays. Speaking of making plays, assists per game, 3.5. Is he going to be able to do this with this team? Let's
Yeah.
set that
Yeah, he's gonna go over. That.
over.
Yeah.
That's huge. If you have a guy that can get you over 3.5 assists off the bench, big for this team.
Man, I hope so.
6 man of the year finish, 3.5.
I'm gonna go. I'm
Under.
under.
I mean,
You're going under?
I think he just said under.
Yeah. That's what,
Well, then Justin looked at me and I changed my answer.
You scared him
I didn't even look at you.
You
I
did.
looked past
You did. You looked at me.
I did this. I panned across your.
He looked
point
at my
of vision.
face. I don't know. I saw his face.
Sorry.
Jeez, Jerry.
I mean, you obviously have Lou Williams, you have Eric Gordon, you're gonna have these
Iguodala.
guys, Iguodala, but he doesn't put up the numbers to get up there. I guess
Still, though.
if they win 70 games, then I think Iguodala.
yeah.
I'll write him.
I
He
just-
averaged 3.4 points and 2 rebounds.
I just don't
He's in
think.
there.
I don't think Schroeder's going to be a sexy enough name or pick to be the 6th man of the year, and I think that hurts him.
Schroeder is a sexy
He
as
will
hell
when
name.
you see
Sure.
things I know he's gonna
The
do.
But
numbers.
The Lou
though,
Williams,
could
the
be.
Eric Gordons,
Yeah.
all those guys, I think scare voters away because I think voters are dumb.
Did you say 3.5?
3.5.
I'll go over just for the fun of
I
it.
think I go over too.
Yeah.
3 feels like a good number.
Okay. Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to beat Eric Gordon. It's gonna be hard
Yeah.
to beat Lou Williams if he's putting up 20 a game.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah. No, you're right.
But
You're
I mean, if the Thunder go out there and they grab the 2 seed, you never know what could, that always helps.
Could be
you out a
hard to
little.
beat Jerami Grant.
All right, we're gonna touch on Singler real quick. How many NBA teams does he play for this year? We're gonna set the number at 0.5. Step on the court, regular
Under.
season.
Under.
Under.
Yeah, I'm gonna go under as well.
So you think he's getting cut before the season starts?
I'm gonna say over. I think somebody picks him up. I think he sees the
Ugh.
court maybe 2 or 3 times.
I think that's the least likely of scenarios.
I think it could happen.
No one knows. I saw he played basketball today. It was on his Instagram.
Did he make some shots?
No, I don't. He didn't even show himself shooting, which is probably smart.
He wasn't in
He was
LA.
dribbling.
He wasn't in LA
He
with.
was in that video.
Oh, that's right. He was
in
in that video.
because I was like, look, he's sinking them,
Yeah,
dude.
he didn't miss any shots.
He's not missing.
He'll be on this roster when the season starts. He'll get cut at some point.
But he won't ever step on the
He
court.
will not ever step on. Like, he will be in regular civilian clothes the entire
That
time
means
that he's with the
if
Thunder.
that's the case, then that means that one of those guys on the two-way is playing well enough that they feel
Could step
like
in.
they need to have somebody step in. If they're
Or
going to
they
cut
could,
him,
I mean,
well,
they could go
otherwise
get
you
Corey
wouldn't.
Burr.
Otherwise you wouldn't. Well, maybe.
Well, with
I just
Felton-
wouldn't think that you
they're
would
gonna
cut
use.
him.
They're
and-
going to use that. I think they want to get rid of that roster spot.
Yeah, you don't think they'd want to leave
It's
that
a
15th
salary.
spot open?
Well, it's the salary more than anything, though, because they
wouldn't
save
think
just
so.
a ton of money by waiving him. I don't think it's about the spot. I think that you risk it with a younger guy.
Doesn't that,
He's-
I
doesn't
think
that
it'd be
guarantee
bad.
like next week?
you save $26 million
Yeah, it's next
by
Friday.
waiving
No,
him.
Well,
Or
the
is he
stretch.
not
The stretch
guaranteed?
provision was next Friday.
Right. The
Okay.
deadline to waive Singler and stretch his contract over, it'd be the next 5 years, I believe.
He's not even on our pecking order of 5 backup shooting guards. I just don't
Guaranteed.
think $26 million
He
is
owns
worth
more
that.
suits than those guys.
That's okay. Damn it, you're right. You're right.
Suits worn this year, Singler, 65.5.
Over.
How many times does he dress out if he's with a Thunder?
Yeah.
That's
I'll
not
go
on the
over.
sheet. I made
How
that
many
up.
times
I'll
does he
go
wear a
over.
suit if he's not with any team?
All right, let's get to the man, the MVP, the face of the franchise, Russell Westbrook. I told you the minutes per game at 34.5. That was my number. He averaged 36.4 last year. This is the last one, guys. So let's hammer these out. We got a few for for Westbrook. 34.5. What are you expecting? You think they keep it down, or is he gonna have to stay on the court again for this team to be successful?
Under.
Yeah, I'm gonna go under.
I'm gonna go under as well.
I mean,
Music to my ears.
I think we all feel like Schroder will be a positive impact on Russ's minutes. So.
Yep.
All right, next, points per game. He averaged 25.4 last year, obviously with Carmelo Anthony on the team. Carmelo's gone. 25.5.
I'm gonna say over.
Rob, you got Paul George up at 26.
Yeah, I think mostly Russ doesn't pick up Melo's points.
You think it's everyone else?
I think it's the other guys. Yeah, and so
is that wishful thinking on your part?
Maybe a little. It's also kind of hoping that Russ can facilitate more and doesn't have to score. I don't want Russ. I want Russ to score. I just don't want him to have to score.
It always seems like he has to, though.
Yeah, definitely.
It just always makes it out like it works itself out. Like, Russ, we need you.
Guys, I got this.
Yeah, we need you to do something.
But think about it. A lot of NBA teams just don't have the luxury. We say, like, sometimes, like, Russ just has to. That's because he can. A lot of NBA teams don't have someone that can just go do it.
Mm-hmm.
They just lose the game.
Yeah, but the Thunder are not trying to be any other
I agree.
team.
I'm
They're
just
trying
saying.
to be great.
I completely agree. What I'm saying is the Thunder have a luxury that a lot of NBA teams don't, which is a lot of NBA teams don't have a guy that has to go score. They literally just lose that game. But we have a guy that literally can go out and, like the Jazz comeback that's still getting played around, is like a lot of teams don't have. Most teams.
He's been doing it for the last 2 years.
Right.
Man. Yeah. 3-point attempts per game. 4.5. He averaged 4.1 last year. If he was working on a shot this summer, maybe he starts firing it up. The league is moving in a certain direction. You lose a guy that shoots a lot of threes in Melo. Melo averaged, or he broke his or set a career high in 3-pointers attempted and made, I believe, last season. Does Russ pick up that slack and shoot more threes?
I think he does. I think he shoots more threes this season.
More than 4.5 a game?
Yeah, I think he...
What's crazy is 4.1 last year, and I think it was around 7 the year before.
Yeah.
Russell will always be like when he retires, we're gonna look back and be like, that guy. Oh, that guy was amazing.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, that guy. So you think he fires him up?
I think he probably shoots a little bit more because I don't know. I kind of hope he plays a little bit more off the ball with Schroder out there, and obviously I think
I'm cool with Russ spot up threes, man.
Yeah,
I am. I like it.
Yeah, I 100%.
My analysis on it.
I feel the same way.
I like it.
You just kind of get him in rhythm, you give him a good pass and let him fire it up there.
Triple doubles. Had 25 last year. 25.5 is the number. So we're setting it right around what it was.
Under. And I think it's a lot under.
We've made that mistake around here a lot.
I made that mistake.
Under.
You keep
Big
saying
time.
under and it doesn't
I made that
work out.
mistake big time last
Well,
year.
I'm saying under.
What'd you say last year? Do you remember?
I thought he would be at 12.
Uh-huh.
It was under 15.
And then he went and averaged one again.
I think it's 20.
Yeah.
I think it's 20. I think all this correlates. I think he doesn't play. He doesn't play as many minutes. I think that he doesn't have to rely on half the time he got those by default because he was just on the court and he just gobbles stats while he's out there.
Yeah.
I think that with Schroder and with
He's
some of these
stat gobbler.
It's Russell Westbrook. He's going over.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. He's going to somehow get and you
he's
know what?
on a quest to become the triple-double.
He knows
all-time.
exactly what your number is. He's going to get 26 this
Dude,
year.
You're right.
He's watching now,
You're
dude.
right.
Yeah.
Even if he's 6 short with 6 games to go, he's getting there.
Hey, Brandon, you just watch me.
Yeah, that's what he's gonna do. All right, Justin.
Justin,
I'll hit you with this one. MVP voting, 3.5. He finished 5th last year. Remember, he started really bad last year. He honestly didn't have a great season last year, despite averaging a triple-double, especially because the first third or so of the season. 3.5 MVP voting. What do you got for Russ?
I'm going to go under and kind of what I said earlier with Defensive Player of the Year. I think he and Paul George detract from each other just like Andre Roberson will detract from Defensive Player of the Year for Paul George. So I think I go under.
All right.
I'll go over. He's not going to win it, but I'm going to go over. I think he'll finish
at least 3. Who's your early MVP favorite?
Man, that's
Dude, I got a dark horse. It could be. I don't think this is gonna happen, and I'm gonna talk more about this later, in a different show. But
Carmelo.
I know. Yes, Carmelo Anthony. No, I think it could be LeBron James. If this Lakers team does what apparently everyone except for me thinks that it's gonna do,
Yeah.
and they go crazy. I mean,
He's not
It's
going to win.
Not going to be long. No, I don't think
They're not
they'll
going
win.
to. They're not going to win enough. No, what I was going to say is they're not going to win enough games.
Oh, 100%. I agree with you.
It's the same thing with
someone
Russ.
picked
when
him
he,
for third seed though. And
Yeah.
if you,
but
the
it is the same
narrative
thing
will
with
be
Russ.
a wave.
If they're going to finish 7th in the West, 6th in the West, I just don't think you can.
Yeah,
But
so
if they
that's
finish
my thing with
fourth or
Anthony
something
Davis.
crazy,
Is I
maybe.
want to go Anthony Davis, but can
Yeah.
they finish top
No,
4?
no, they can't.
No.
Did you
cannot.
legitimately just say LeBron James is a dark horse for the MVP?
In the West, he absolutely
Yeah, I
is.
would agree.
In the
There's
West,
not an-
100%.
There's not an East MVP.
Well, but I'm saying in the East, he
Being
looks
the
like
fact that
he
he's in the
looks
West.
incredible.
I think
What
that
if it's
in the West,
what
that's
if
a
it's
lot tougher.
Kawhi?
yeah, I was going to
What
say
if
Kawhi.
it is Kawhi?
Because
and
he can finish second in the East or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
What I'm saying is just look how incredible he looked against the guys in the East in the playoffs
True.
last season. He looked like a god, and then he's a mortal guy, and the West is tough, dude.
I kind of think KD goes out and tries to get him one with the
Maybe.
Warriors to like legitimize I'm the best player on this team.
I just don't think you can with
It's tough.
yeah.
But if he plays all 82 or at least like 80 or whatever, and then he's consistently the best player and they win 65
Do you think the
I-
narrative hurts him though?
Well, yeah. Well, I also saw
a
that
little bit.
DeMarcus Cousins was a little bit ahead of where he was supposed to be
Of course
at
he
this
is.
time,
Of
and
course,
so
sure.
They
Seems
shoot him
like
up
he's-
with some sort of
he's going to
Golden
play even
State
more. And
lucky juice
Wow.
that they have.
That they all shoot each other up with
Yeah, they
every
do.
day.
Seems fair. All right, last one with Russ. Which, if someone wants to pull up his stats from last year, I'd be
sure.
grateful.
7.
Yeah, do it, Jacob. Major statistical categories that Russell Westbrook will improve on from last season. These major categories are going to be points, rebounds, assists, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. And can you help me out here, Jacob? Points last year, I already said that he averaged 25 point, what is it? 25.4
Right.
last year.
You got
Rebounds was
rebounds. We're looking at
rebounds.
where
it says TRB.
Hand it
Oh,
over.
okay.
Yeah, just let me see.
There we
it.
go. 10.1.
Okay, 10.1. Assist was what? 10.3.
10.3. Yeah.
Field goal percentage. That was somewhere around what? 45.
His EFG was 47.
Nah,
His
field goal percentage
2-point was 48.
left.
And then right. I'm trying to paint a clear picture for our
What is
viewers.
the number though?
44%.
44.9% from the field last year. That
Yeah.
was a number that, man, last 2/3 of the season he shot the ball really well.
Yeah.
3-point percentage last year, what? 29.
29.
Not
what you want.
Free throw percentage. Got to improve that one, right?
Free throw.
72?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
How did? What was
73 technically. 73.
it? Seem possible.
All right, so we got 6 categories here. I'm going to set the number at 3.5.
Over.
We're going to give him free throws, right?
Whoa.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. For
So
sure.
what are your other ones here? We need 3
The
more,
only-
at least 3 more.
The
from you.
only one is points
that he won't?
that he won't get.
So you think
I
he's
say-
going to go over rebounds, over assists, over
Yeah.
field goal percentage, over 3-point percentage?
Yeah.
Rob, what you got?
I mean, if that's, I'm gonna say that it's gonna be under. I don't think that I could see him improving slightly with threes. I'll do 3 of them. So I could see it improving with his 3-point percentage, which would help his field goal percentage, and then I will also do free throws.
What's the most important ones here?
Steals.
Assists, assist and field goal percentage.
I
I think that shows facilitation to other guys that need to get involved, as well as shows efficiency and I don't want to say maturity, but continuing to grow as a player by taking better shots and being more efficient as a player.
I like that.
agreed. Yeah.
Free throw percentage too, man. He's got to get that up.
Oh yeah, well I think that one's so much of a given that
Sure.
I don't even think about
Sure.
it.
I mean, he dropped literally 5%. No, more, significantly more.
Oh, dude,
Sorry,
like
11%.
10%.
11.
Math is
Yeah.
hard though.
Yeah,
I
one-
mean,
It's those numbers are really.
So I take over on free throw. I think that goes up. I think his steals go up slightly. He averaged 1.8 last season. I think that with
that
him,
No, go ahead.
sorry, am I doing it wrong again?
No, you're good. You're
Was
good,
that
you're
one of
good.
them?
Well, no, it wasn't. I'm just throwing it out there. That's just a number that I think will go up.
yeah,
and then well, I don't care, dude. It's my show now. It's my show.
I am the captain.
Look at me.
Look at me. His steals will go up. No, and I think the assists will go up too. I think that you'll see. Like I said, I think he's going to average.
His points are going to go up, guys.
Yeah,
I don't know,
I
but
have that.
it's
But I'm
not-
saying I think all the other. I don't think he'll average a triple double. Not close. And I think that, but I think his
Don't
assists,
doubt him.
I think his assists will be higher, but I don't think his rebounds.
It's
will be
not
higher.
crazy to think that his assists go down though. That's to me is with extra facilitators. I mean,
That's true. Good point.
That could go
And
down.
without shooting.
And he will like.
I just don't know who facilitates on that team. There just are extra hands. I agree, but I don't know that. I mean, I'm not like Schroeder's there. Look out.
There will be more off the ball possessions with Schroeder on the team.
That's
There
for
will.
sure.
Yes.
No, I agree with that.
Last one. Let's leave everyone with this one.
Okay.
Vegas has set the over/under on wins, and we're gonna do this as a little teaser for next week. 'Cause
Over.
We're gonna get into the team. 50.5 for the Thunder.
Which is so ridiculously good. Like I'm gonna go under.
Wow.
I think it's 50 exact. That's the problem. Is I think it's exactly 50.
I'm kinda
Over
with you.
53. 53 wins.
I've been right around 50, 51, 52. I've been struggling with where I want to go. I'll reveal it next week. How about that?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, how about that?
What a weird way to end
hang
it.
us out on a line, dude.
Man, thanks to everyone for tuning in. And if you stuck through us through the technical difficulties we had in the first go-around, we really appreciate it. We're going to delete that one. Subscribe on YouTube. You can watch all these episodes and more, live or on demand. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, and all them other websites, including our own recently updated OKCThunderheads.com. Hey, we said it at the top, but I guess we didn't on this one. But go get a haircut and a drink at our sponsor, Scissors and Scotch.
Love it.
You won't regret it. It'll be a great haircut. It'll be a great drink.
Absolutely.
And so go do
They know
that
what
for
they're
us.
doing. It's not just a gimmick. They
Yeah,
really know what they're doing.
And
They're
just
great.
go do that for us because they support us, and we want you to support them, and it'll just be one big cycle, and it'll be fun.
And we're giving away haircuts next week.
Are we?
Yeah, we are.
Love it. We're back next week. Speaking of next week, we're back next week with another one. And till then, and as always, Thunder up.